Awesome. Well, thank you so much for showing us something cool in your office. I think we can get started with our questions. So we're gonna spend about 20 minutes. Um, I'll be asking some questions, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Kelly. She has some good things to share. So we'll give her some time there as well. And like Brooke mentioned, the last 15 minutes is gonna be for like the last 10 minutes or so will be for like questions. All right. So first question I have. For those who had the unfortunate experience of being laid off, can you share how your experience was like? And I don't know, anyone can go first.
I'm happy to jump in and chat about it. So I was laid off in November, and I am lucky that I have started a new job since then. However, just from an emotional standpoint, definitely was very difficult. I think it was like fully a surprise for me. It was like 10% of the company. It was a small company, so it wasn't like ton of people, but it felt like a lot of people for a little company. And um yeah, I think with that experience, I had to do a lot of setting my own schedule, because otherwise I would just spend all day looking at LinkedIn and jobs and job boards. And definitely was like providing to eat food like, be a human. So I think that was one of the things that helped me the most, was just like setting a schedule, like when I wake up, don't open your laptop until you eat breakfast, and like stop at 5, and take a day off, even if you don't take the whole week, and I'll take like a Sunday, every Sunday. Don't do any job apps. And um that was really helpful. I definitely needed to like set those boundaries for myself. And I think the other thing that was like really surprising right after being laid off was like seeing how empty my calendar was on my phone. I have all my work stuff on my phone, and I was like, oh my god, there's nothing on here. So it was just like very jarring. The whole experience is quite jarring, because it's like you're going from like one experience, and then it's just like done. Very cut and dry. And so, yeah, I think that was like one of I remember that moment vividly, where I was like, oh my gosh, it's gone, and my calendar is very open now. But yeah, I think that's a little bit about my experience.
Thank you for that, Sahar. And I like that you mentioned, sort of having setting boundaries, and I know it can, around that period, it can be very chaotic, and just having that Sunday off and not thinking about job applications, portfolio updates, and things like that, and just sort of like taking care of you, definitely matters. Anyone else wants to share or have any?
I can jump in. I also was in the job search process last spring into summer. And as I mentioned in my bio, almost every other year, which maybe sounds a little crazy, but it is just the job market these days. This last year was extremely challenging because I didn't know that I would be finding myself looking. And I think that's perhaps one of the hardest parts is, right, oh gosh, I didn't know. I didn't have awareness to my situation. And sometimes we can predict those things, sometimes we can't. But I would echo what Sahar said with giving yourself time off. I actually had to do it daily so that I could shut off, because my brain went into panic mode and wanted to panic apply and panic network and panic communicate. And that's not useful. You really have to get very intentional about your connections in the current job market so that you're having better quality conversations instead of the old spray and pray method, which perhaps some of you have seen and used and had luck with, but it's not going to work in the current market. It's more about conversations and quality of conversation.
Yeah, no, I like that. Be intentional with your connections. Yeah, because just just reaching out to those that you know, and yeah, that definitely makes a difference. Um, thank you for that. And I can continue on to the next question. So we have, what is your advice for those who are going through layoffs? I know you both have mentioned some feedback regarding, I know, Sahar, you mentioned about like make sure they have balance, taking some time off. Is there anything else that anyone here would want to share regarding just your advice for those who are going through it right now?
I think another thing I had to, in a weird way, this was like both lucky and also I'm sad because my manager was also laid off. And in a weird way, I was like happy that we were going through it together. We both felt that way. But it can sound kind of weird to be like, I'm so lucky that I had her to go through it with. But she was very clear at being like, feel your feelings and know that every day your feelings are going to change and you're going to laugh. You're like, oh, I'm over it. I'm fine now. I'm not mad anymore. And then the next day you're going to be like pissed off. And that's totally fine. Like you're allowed to feel whatever you feel. And it's going to not be the same probably every single day for a while. So it was helpful to just like remind myself of that. Because, yeah, definitely went through all the emotions, but in all different order. Like, and that was like, it was just helpful to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a human. Like, I'm gonna feel a type of way about it. This does suck, and I'm allowed to be sad. I'm also allowed to feel optimistic, and like all those things are fine. So I think like being, yeah, just letting yourself feel the things, and that's really important.
Thank you for that, Sahar. Anyone else has any other advice for those going through layoffs?
I think another thing that helped me a lot was I had an opportunity to connect with a community and give myself a little bit of space between talking to your partner, talking to your friends, talking to your family members about where you're struggling mentally, or even just I'm really stressed about waiting to hear back or something like that. Having a community of fellow folks that are seeking can be really helpful. And one of the people that I connected with was a recruiter, and she opened our session with, she brought a coffee mug and it says, "Don't look back, you're not going there." And so sometimes our feelings are reflections of, gosh, if I had just done this, maybe I'd kept my job, or gosh, if I had just done this, I would have avoided this round of layoffs, or whatever the story we tell ourselves. That's being past focused. You need to be present focused to find your future. And that's really was very helpful for me to remind myself, don't look back, you're not going there. I wanted to replay everything that I did or didn't do. And that wasn't a useful activity for my time or for my job search. So I would just say, if you're feeling that, it's okay. And like Sahar said, feel your feelings, but you need to be pointed forward, not backwards.
I love that. Being present focus and not past focus, because you can go around and around of all the things that you could have done that you should have done, and it's just not that what if plan is just not good, and just being present, and also what Sahar said, like feeling your feelings, and letting just your feelings process everything that's happening, and just taking that time.
I was going to jump in and just say something to that effect too, and I think that both of you have touched on something that's really important, is taking that time to process, and whether it's grieve, and just give yourself some time to just not do anything job related. I think that I've worked with people where, and I'm not in the mindset of saying that this happened for a reason. Now you can go reinvent yourself and move on to something better. And there is the optimistic side that is true. But also during that time is maybe really start redefining and become clearer on what next is. And I see this even for people who are employed in roles where they realize that they want out, but they're not really sure what next looks like. So thinking about your strengths, what you don't like to do, what type of companies you want to target, and really taking that time to focus on what next should look like. So then you're not just, reaching out to your network that I need to find a job and this and that, because I think once you are a little bit more clear and defined on what that is, you'll be able to communicate that more clearly to your network and your community, and then they can help you a little bit better as to being more open as far as I'm looking for a job. So just, whether that takes a week, a day, month, there are career services out there that can help you, but I'm also an advocate of there's a lot of free resources out there to help you work through that process too.
I also add that I would encourage people to avail themselves of every and all resource. Like sometimes there's no one more motivated to act as a reference for you or connect you to someone who can be a reference than someone who's employed at your previous organization who's pissed that you got laid off. So I would take advantage of that. And also, I personally didn't get laid off, but when I was reaching out to my own network for help, I had to be very specific about what kind of help I wanted. So I would say, be clear about what you want. No, I don't just want a link to a job ad. Thank you. LinkedIn is serving me those alerts. But if you know someone I can talk to who works there, I do want to hear about that.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, definitely reaching out to your past coworkers and to your network. It's also very important. All right, so our next question is, what are things that you did that helped you land your next role and stand out as a candidate? So what are things that you did that helped you land your next role and stand out as a candidate? Who wants to take that one first?
I'm working on my awkward pausing and I'm failing at it miserably because I want to jump in. I have a story. So last year, again, I mentioned I didn't know that I'd be looking, but I did two things. I did one thing. I went directly to happy hour a bit early that day. And then the next day, I got a coach and I got a book. And so coaching may not be options for everyone on this call or depending on where you are, but there are a lot of community resources that are available, a lot of folks that you're probably already connected to that can serve as a point of accountability. And I can drop the book link in here, but the Never Search Alone process is what I used this last go round. And from thanks, your services are no longer needed to congratulations, we're extending an offer, was 45 days. That's a full-time job. It was work. It took effort, but the amplification of social search, which I think Kelly kind of indicated too, is really what's going to make helping make progress and helping really get clear on what's next for you. So both of those things, I think, if without them, I would not have been back in. Yes, thank you. I wouldn't have been back in the job market or back in working so quickly. And quite honestly, I'm almost 10 months old at my current role, and I can't tell you, I've never felt like I've fit more at a company than I do today. So I think I did some really good work to make sure that not only I was just taking something, I was taking something valuable, which I bet there's a lot of folks on this call that are like, yes, I need a paycheck, but I need something that's going to be meaningful for me. So that was another added bonus to the experience. That community is all free too. So that, again, it's a book and not everybody is open to buy a book, but the Never Search Alone community, I can drop the link to the community itself here in just a second, Fiorella. But that's free, so that you don't have to pay anything for that.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that. Whenever you get that link, just share it with us.
Yep.
Daniel, go ahead. No. You.
Okay. I'll build on that. Just to say, I also got a coach. I really needed someone to hold me accountable to the process of updating my resume, updating my portfolio, and going on the job search. And that really helped me. I don't think I could have done it by myself. The other thing that I tried really hard to do was find people who were my peers who were also looking for jobs, or people who were like 1 or 2 levels above me, who could give me some critique about what my own blind spots were. I was having a really difficult time just finding people like who weren't my friends, or who I hadn't worked with in the past or had some kind of relationship with, that to like look at me from an outsider's perspective and kind of give me some advice on how I'm coming off to people who might be looking to hire me, or like, you know, what they're seeing out there in the industry. And that was really hard to do. Like, it was really hard to find those people, but their advice or their critical feedback helped me a lot.
Thank you, Shannon.
I think for me, oh, sorry, Fiorella, I interrupted. You finish your.
I was just gonna say, it's nice. I mean, I know Alison has mentioned the, you know, community, and she shared the thank you for sharing the link, the NSA community, and also coach. I actually never had the experience of having a coach, but I see the importance of it. So definitely gonna look into that. Sorry, go ahead, sorry.
No, yeah, I love everything that Alison and Shannon have shared. For me, it was a little bit different. I didn't have a coach. I did have like the community aspect of like, you know, the other people that got laid off from my company, and I have friends who were laid off from other companies around the same time, and so we were all kind of supporting each other, and you know, being able to like provide feedback on like, you know, portfolio updates and all that fun stuff. And so that did help a lot. For me, I found, you know, I got laid off November 2nd. I started my new job January 8th. I think for me, and I got my offer actually right before Christmas, so it was like the best Christmas present ever. But I think for me, what really helped, and it wasn't something I did after I was laid off, I think that throughout like just my time working on UX and service design, I went to a lot of events like this. I went to a lot of like webinars where I could meet other people. So I cannot stress how much, and I know everyone hates the word networking, and I totally understand why. But I can't stress how helpful that was for me. Something else that was so helpful, again, not after I was laid off, but I started mentoring on like ADP lists last year, doing free mentorship, and talking about UX research to junior or mid-level researchers, having to constantly like explain like things that have worked for me, and like what I'm doing with like stakeholder management and all of that helped me be ready to interview, because I was like already had been talking about the same stuff in just a different context. And so having that experience was really helpful. It was almost like when you teach, you learn what you're teaching, even it becomes more cemented in you. So if I'm talking about like storytelling, make sure your portfolio is telling a story. And I'm saying that to my mentees. I'm like, well, I know I have to do that too. And so I think that was super helpful. I feel like again, not so much of a, oh, I was laid off and then I started doing that. Although you could totally do that. I think it was just a thing that like in general was helping me be ready for that moment.
Thank you, Sahar, for sharing that. And let's make sure we have good on time. I'll ask one more.
Yeah. I want to pop in real quickly, because I know there's been the mention of career coaches, and there are some phenomenal, great career coaches out there. I have a network of some that are fantastic. And I also just want to put a disclaimer out there that there are some that are not so great. So just a buyer beware. They certainly come at different price points as well. Some are, higher on the spectrum as opposed to lower too. So just be mindful when